I don't know how I was going to start it. I was going to try something different. And then hey, welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. We are now 1 week removed from having iPhones officially in our hands, although officially in some of our hands. Hartley, good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry. What's going on? Why don't you have a phone?
I know. I ordered a little bit later than usual for a variety of reasons, but one of them was I just couldn't decide between the iPhone Air and the iPhone 17 Pro. I was also kind of tempted by the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which is what I thought I was going to buy before it was all announced. And my delay has meant that now I still don't have this phone, and probably still won't have it for another week.
When did you order them?
Probably about 48 hours after pre-orders opened.
And they don't have any. You can't just walk in store?
Nope.
I wonder if that's
you can walk in store for like the combinations, other color combinations. Like if you want to buy a 256 gigabyte deep blue iPhone 17 Pro, then you can probably find that somewhere. But I want silver, which is popular, and I also want the base storage configuration, which is also pretty popular. And
wait, you want 256?
Yeah, I do.
That's enough for you?
I would like more, but I kind of
expensive.
Yeah, and I don't fill it up. Realistically, I only download a lot of stuff when I'm traveling and I'm anticipating being on flights, and I will download a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, things like that. But the only thing that I really keep downloaded on my device is music. That probably is what takes up the majority of my storage. But even that, having 60 gigabytes of music downloaded is more than enough. You don't really need to be having 200 gigs of music.
Are you downloading lossless?
No. I don't listen with anything that can play lossless. I was
going to say, there's no point. I know people that do that, and it drives me insane. I'm like, you do realize your AirPods or your other Bluetooth headphones, it's not doing anything. I just got lossless for Spotify, a little side note, and I'm excited to try it once I can find my headphones that are compatible with it. So I guess I could do the AirPods Max and use the cable.
Yeah, but it's not true lossless. It's still not true lossless.
Right.
When I went to an Apple store a couple of months ago and I was looking at the AirPods Max, and one of my friends said to me, "Oh, so what's the difference with the new AirPods Max?" And I said, "Oh, no, it's nothing. There's no different. It's just USB-C. And one of the employees walked over to me and said, No, they play lossless now. And I just sort of looked at him and just sort of sighed a little bit, because I thought, do I really want to have this debate right now? And I decided not to.
Nope. You just, at this point in my life, I'm learning that we just need to move on. It's not worth it. So, bless his or her heart. They were trying to just make some sales, and that's okay. You should have said, I would still recommend them if you want a pretty good pair of headphones. And now that it's USB-C, it's.
I would recommend them, actually. I've become a total AirPods Max convert. I used to really dislike them, and it's only since my AirPods Pro have totally failed on me. I'm also waiting for those, by the way. That I now use my AirPods Max almost all day, every day, to the point where those are now starting to fail on me. And I think I'm going to have to buy some new AirPods Max. I've got launch day ones, so they're getting on for 5 years old at this point.
And get that USB-C, so now it's just convenient for everything. All right, let's move on to iPhone. So you don't have them, but you've seen them. You have friends that you've used, so you've had enough time to play with them. You've been at the stores. You want to start with the Air, and did your first ever impression, you picked it up. I have given it to a lot of people around here and just put it in their hands and wanting to see the reactions, and thinking most people would probably be like, okay. Reactions have been crazy. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts were.
I agree. I was expecting it to be good. But the first time I saw it in the store, I was pretty blown away, actually. You can see it in as many marketing images as you like. You can read about the weight difference as much as you like online. But there's nothing that quite beats seeing it in person and holding it. And a few things really surprised me with it. The first is how, even though it's a larger display than the 16 Pro and 17 Pro, it sort of weirdly doesn't feel like it, because where it's so much thinner, you can actually grip it really comfortably.
Yeah.
And it feels like such a sort of sweet spot display. It's the perfect size. It's neither too small nor too big. And I think this is the closest that Apple has come to a perfectly sized iPhone since probably the iPhone 10. Just combining with that that shape and thickness and weight, it just feels so good in the hand. And I also was quite surprised by the colors, because they are a lot more subtle than I was expecting. You really can't tell very much difference between at least the three lighter shades. Obviously, the black does stand out.
Yeah, that's what I have
the three
here.
lighter shades.
Go ahead. Sorry.
They just look extremely similar. In different lighting conditions, they're nearly indistinguishable.
I was just telling you before we started, because I have the black here, and I like it, but I think it just shows too much, and it gets a little too gross. And I don't know. I keep seeing images of the. I don't know if I like the blue as much as I like the white or the gold. Like, I think the white is very clean, but again, like you said, they're all pretty close to each other. It's mostly just reflections of light for the blue, and then honestly for the white or the gold, they are both pretty much the same back almost. It's the titanium border where you really see more of the color pop, whether you have a gold or like a kind of like a silverish look to it. Stainless steel, it's not stainless steel, but it looks like it could be. But yeah, everybody that I've given the phone with, except for one person, would love for you to guess who you think that might be. I gave them the 17 Pro Max first, and I said, all right, feel that, cool. And then I told them to close their eyes, and I gave them the Air, and they said they were like, what's the difference here? And I was like, what do you mean, what's the difference here? Go ahead and guess who this person, love this person to death. I am with them constantly.
Your wife.
Yeah. She just is that type of technology person where she was like, I mean, I guess it's thinner, she said. And I was like, you guess it's thin? Like, I was personally offended, as if this was my own child that I created. And it's just a phone that I'm just reviewing it. But I was like, what do you mean? You should have a reaction. Because everybody else that I've given it to, they're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. However, the follow-up after a couple minutes where they're messing around with it and they look at it, they're like, yeah, I just don't know that I can abandon all the cameras. That's like it. Usually at the end, that's what kind of drives them to being like, I like this a lot. I need cameras. If Apple can figure out a way to get the Pro like this, oof.
On that point, I was quite indecisive. So when I first saw the Air in person, this kind of threw my plan completely off track. And it made me really try to contemplate whether I actually do want an Air this year and I don't want a Pro or Pro Max. So what I did was I went to my photos library on my Mac, and I created a new smart folder, which you can't do this on the iPhone, but you can do it in Photos on the Mac, and you can filter by focal length. So I looked at all of the photos that I've taken over the last year with the telephoto camera, and the number of photos and really good photos that I have enjoyed taking and seeing and using as wallpapers over the last year, they've all been telephoto images, and truly all of my favorite images as well. It really stood out to me that in all different situations, from my travels over the last year, even just things when I've been at home, the perspective, even sort of portrait images, they just look so good with that telephoto that I thought, okay, I know the Pros are ugly. I know that they're seeming kind of fragile too, and we'll get onto that.
Ugly?
Yeah.
They're not okay. We'll talk about it when we get to that. I have many things to say here.
But that's kind of what sealed the deal for me, that I thought I can't give up this telephoto. I just can't do it.
Yeah. I want to save it, but it's a good call. And when you do get the telephoto on the new one, you're going to be blown away because it's even better. The 8X is insane. So, okay, back to the Air though. Yeah, I mean, it just makes the most sense. And it's not like the camera that you have is bad. It's the same camera, correct, as the other ones. It's
absolutely, yeah. And it's a really good wide camera, especially I love it in the 2X crop.
Yep, it's fine. You get 2X and you get the standard one, and that's it. And so you just have to live with it. So worst case scenario, if there's something you want to take a picture of, you got to get closer. And that's really it. And I mean, other than that, though, I don't think the battery life is as bad as it people say. I will say, I've seen posts, and I kind of flip flop on my thoughts here, because like people are like, yeah, the battery ain't it. This sucks. I'm signing off for the day and it's at 2%. I'm like, what do you mean? How does that suck? You got through the day. We got 2%. You don't need extra But the flip side to that is you don't want to be draining your battery every time. It's not good for the battery, and charging from near 0 to 100 is not good all the time. You need to be around 20 to 80. You got to live in that sweet spot for your battery to not degrade as much or as quickly. So come to look at it in a year and a half, that 100% is going to turn down to 90. And now you're looking at, okay, you're in negative 10% at that point from where you are day one. So obviously it's going to get worse. It's just, how do we not get it to be that bad that quickly? You could use the MagSafe battery pack, which works really, really well. And ideally, you need to use it in the sense that you put it on your phone while your phone is at 100, and you keep it at 100, or you keep it at a high. You don't put it on to charge it. You put it on to be supplemental, to be extra battery capacity. And I think people don't understand that, and they use it as like a way to charge it quickly, and it does not charge it quickly. So that's not how you want to do that. Unless I am mistaken, but that is the way that I was informed on how these things work. So yeah, I mean, overall though, battery will last you throughout the day, unless you're just using your phone all day, every day. In which case, maybe you probably don't want to do that without a battery pack. But for most majority of use cases, you'll be fine. It's just, it's better than I anticipated. So I'm impressed with it overall. But yeah, it's obviously not going to be as good as a 5,000 plus 17 Pro Max.
I agree, but I also sort of to some extent think it's a non-issue, because the reaction that I've seen is, in general, I think the majority of people have been impressed by the battery life of the iPhone Air so far. Mm-hmm. But also, when you do attach that MagSafe battery pack, the thickness is really negligible with that battery pack on it. And that pushes the total battery life to higher than a Pro Max. Mm-hmm. So if today you want to walk out of an Apple store with an iPhone experience that provides you with the longest possible battery life, that is the iPhone Air.
Mm-hmm. And the first company, and it might already exist, I just haven't had a chance to look at this. The first company that puts a battery in a slim case and makes that as slim as possible, and it's like you snap the case on and there's a MagSafe, and the first person to do that is going to sell a ton of those. Because imagine if all you need is a case that has a MagSafe battery attached to it that you can put on, and it makes it the size of a Pro for a little bit, and then just take it off when you're done. It's simple.
I agree. I think that I think a lot of people were concerned before this device was announced. What would the battery life be like? And also what would the durability be like? And I think what we're learning as people sort of spend their first couple of weeks with this device is actually these two things are negligible issues. They've turned out to be surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest drawbacks are the speaker, which doesn't sound fantastic, but you can live with that. I mean, most people use AirPods anyway. It's fine in a pinch if you don't have a Bluetooth speaker or headphones. And obviously the lack of versatility with those rear cameras. But the camera you do have is still very good. I think it's a great device. Whether it will be super popular, I don't know yet. But I have been impressed by it.
I think everyone that's purchased an Air has not seemingly the reactions. People who have purchased the Air don't seem to have been having regrets about it. I think everyone's pretty happy. Quinn, our good friend Quinn Nelson, he went Air instead of Pro, and he seems to be loving it. And that's like a credible, legit reviewer who isn't going for the best of the best like most of us do. And he seems to be able to make it work. So, I mean, that's a power user, I'm guessing. And so I think it can be something for everyone. But I'm trying to think. Oh, so the speaker, I wonder how many people do you do this? Do you listen to music from your phone without AirPods?
I don't so much listen to music, but I do listen to podcasts.
Okay, but that's like you just
sort
need
of
it to be loud. You don't need it to be like
exactly, but it wasn't a major consideration as to why I didn't go for the Air, but I know that I would have been a little bit disappointed. In particular, what I like doing is when I'm kind of running around my apartment, or if I take a shower or something, I don't want to have headphones in, so I'll just put my phone in my pocket, or put it on the side in the bathroom and just leave a podcast playing. And especially in like an echoey room, like a bathroom, a little tiny speaker is definitely going to be a downgrade over what you get with the stereo speakers on the Pro.
So I don't live alone, so I don't do that at my house, but I do that a lot when I travel. So if I'm getting ready to go, if I'm at a hotel in New York or LA or wherever I might be, I definitely do that. And so that would be the only time for me in which I listen to audio that is not a video. Like I watch tons of videos on my phone but I don't need that to be, I don't need it to have good sound and a sound stage and make sure that I'm getting low end and the mids. Like I don't need that, obviously. I just need it to be loud enough so I can hear what I'm watching. And it's plenty good for that. But like, you're right. It's not going to be as good for when you are in a pinch and you want to listen to some music or a podcast and you need it to be loud and not the inside of a tin can, because it is only coming from the top of your phone where you put your ear at. So, but to me, that hasn't been that big of a deal. So I don't know if that's how that's going to be for everybody. What was the other thing that you were saying? Or is that just it?
I think
I don't know if there was another drawback. Oh, the durability. The durability isn't a drawback at all. It's been proven. No. Yeah.
That seems to be great.
It's been amazing. Dude, these screens, I don't know what Apple did to this ceramic shield too. But the scratch resistance is legit. I know I talked about this with the 17, but I am still no screen protector on any of these phones. There is still not a scratch at all. And it's been a couple of weeks, and I know people are like, how do you have scratches after a couple of weeks? You put it in direct sunlight, put it under a harsh lamp. I guarantee you, for those who are saying you have had your phone for 2 years and you don't have any scratches, you have lots of scratches. You just can't see them until you're in that direct source. Someone told me this the other day and I picked up their phone. I'm like, what do you mean? Like I can see scratches right here. You have tons. There is nothing on these phones. And it usually happens within shortly after a few days. Any lint or sand or anything that might be around, any kind of grain that's on a table or surface in your pockets, you'd be surprised how much you have a lot of, like, you're just interacting with this a lot. Nothing, not a single scratch on any of these phones. I am very impressed with it. And even and I know some people are saying that's not how the glass works, and glass is still glass, and it will at some point it will scratch and definitely will break if you drop it. But when jerry rig everything, Zach does his tests. He did the Mohs scale of hardness. Usually around 6 or 7, you start seeing scratches. I don't think there was many, if at all, any noticeable scratches at 7, which is unlikely for any smartphone. And then at 8, even at 8, it was still very and that's like getting near sapphire level, which is not what we have here, but that's really impressive. So shout out to Apple for making that really work this year.
And that's something that has needed some improvement on the iPhone for a while. So that's really good to see.
It's been terrible. On the 15 Pro Max, I've had one of the worst scratches I've ever seen, and I have no idea how it happened. Not one bit, because I am careful with my phones. I can understand if I dropped it. Not one bit. I don't even put it in the same, it might have been maybe one time it reached with the key in there, and to cause that deep of a scratch for a couple of seconds in my pocket like that, it's unreal. So the fact that these have made it, and the other day I put it in the same pocket. I actually forcefully put it in my pocket quickly because I was on the way out with a key, and I knew at the last second, oh no, it's going to get scratched. And I looked at it; it was perfectly fine. So, yeah, I am impressed with that. And I think the build on the Air is overall pretty good. So I highly recommend it. It's just expensive for what you're getting, and it's really just the lack of cameras that you're not getting. So that's the biggest complaint for me.
I agree. I think a lot of people will be very happy with that device. I'm just not one of them.
I still haven't decided if I'm going to be a main user of it or not. But I guess we can transition over to the Pro, because there's a reason why I don't know if I'm going to use it, and it's the Pro cameras. Also, you called this ugly? Just forget the color. But the silver, which is what you got, which is what I have. I just don't have it on me. It's behind me. the silver is not ugly at all. That is a beautiful looking phone. Is it the camera bump you think is ugly?
In my opinion, the silver is the best looking color because it's the most sort of traditional Apple color with the white and the silver. But there's something about the design this year where it is so thick. That's a really, really thick phone. It feels thick. And
don't thick
just
shame our phones.
And it's sort of so chunky. It really feels like a brick.
Oh my gosh. This is that's so insensitive to my iPhone.
Well, I only apologize for the offense to any iPhone caused. But I
kind of like the thickness. I'm not going to lie.
It feels like a unit. Like this is the first iPhone that I've picked up and thought, oh, that's like, it can't really get much thicker than this now. This is really pushing it. And I don't mind the full width camera plateau, but it's so, the whole look is so much more aggressive, which kind of fits in with the Pro versus Air contrast that they're leaning into this year. But it's like Apple pushed so far into sort of the elegance and slimness of the Air and just went the complete other way and thought, what's the least elegant, most like aggressive, over the top design that they can go for with the Pros? And this is what we've got.
So one thing I want to point out, the camera plateau is actually incredible for using without a case because, and not so much on the Pro Max, this is going to be something you will notice. And I would love to hear if you agree with me when you get your phone and you're using it. If you're using it without a case, the camera plateau is a great place on the standard Pro to rest your finger up against. So I don't know if you can see this on camera, but like my pointer finger is right up against it. And it kind of gives you just a little bit of extra like grip to it. I can kind of rest I'm not holding it now, like gripped around the sides. I am just allowing that camera plateau to just rest underneath or above my finger. And it's perfect. It's harder to do on the Pro Max because it's just a bigger phone. But on the Pro, it's kind of like a natural little, like, I don't know, not a pop socket, but like an upper level little like,
I know
resting point.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I've noticed that I'm like, am I going to switch to the Pro full time? I don't know. At some point, I'm just kind of bouncing around these phones to really just do my job correctly and spend a long period of time with them as my main phone. I probably should because I absolutely think the Pro is the perfect size. I think that is the way to go. With the level of thickness. We were talking about it with the Air. It's like 6.5. You can even go 6.7 probably. If you're going to have such a thin body, it's fine. The 6.3 or 6.1 is probably the absolute most that I think is a comfortable point for a phone. I think that is the sweet spot. But I'm still a Pro Max shill and I'm using it and I don't know why. I guess it's the battery. I don't know. I'm not happy about it. But I am happy with the phone overall. The telephoto lens. Have you seen some of my stuff that I've posted on Instagram?
I have. And I think they're actually great examples.
You know, I go to a lot of concerts, I go to a lot of sporting events, and that has been the best use case for this. I wasn't super far away from the concert, like from the stage, which is good because I've noticed the further you are and you try to use that 8X, it's not as good in terms of video. And I'll have this in my review. When I was at a baseball game, I was a lot further away. The subject that I was looking at being that far, it just didn't look as good as when you're like a appropriate distance away and you want to get a really nice kind of like bokeh look in the background of that person while you're filming them. So yeah, they're playing guitar. Like you can see it well, I guess you can't anymore. I had it on Instagram, but I'll put it in my review as well. I mean, it just looked so good that I don't know that I can go back. I don't. And you have such a great, from 1X to 8X, it's just such a great range of lenses to be able to use. That if you're anyone who takes a ton of photos and videos, especially if you want to get good quality photos from a distance. I mean, the photo I took at the Browns game too, I'm pretty far away. Like that looked good. The colors were popping off the charts. Like it just was so vibrant still. Didn't lose any quality. Like I cannot like be satisfied. I cannot speak such good words about this camera enough. I can't even say the words. I can't even think of the words that I want to say. Like I'm flustered here, but they are really good. So I'm done being overly positive about this phone, but because it's not all positive.
I haven't obviously had a chance to use these other than just in the stores myself yet. But what I'm particularly excited about is it's not just the 8x; it's also dropping that 5x down to a 4x.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5x has always been a little bit of a weird focal length because it's somehow a little bit too close to be useful for capturing things that are genuinely really quite far away, which is why the 8x is great. But for things that are more nearby, like in portraiture, it's somehow just a little too close. And that's why I used to love the 3x. So I think that Apple has finally got just the perfect balance here, doubling each time through those different focal lengths. And I'm really excited for it. I mean, the images I've seen from it have really blown me away. And I know, looking back at my photos from the last year, just how much use I'm going to get out of this over the next year. This has been the one that I've been really excited about. It was great when the main camera moved to 48 megapixels. The ultra wide was surprisingly good. And I have definitely used that more over the last year since that moved to 48 megapixels. Definitely in low light, it's so much better. But the one that I have been waiting for is the telephoto.
Yeah, I still don't use the ultra wide as it's not my first choice. I definitely don't think when I'm taking a photo like, oh, I need to take an ultra, but I've been using it a lot more, obviously, since I'm testing it. And the images are good. I just don't ever really think of a reason in which I want to use it. I don't take a lot of macro shots. Do you? Do you take a lot?
I hate macro mode, actually.
Yeah.
I don't like the way that macro mode automatically kicks in situations when I actually don't want it. And quite often, the actual telephoto will take a crisper close-up image than macro mode. So I hate it. I always turn it off.
You can turn it off. I know you know that, but like it's just then there's times where I do want it and it won't pop up, and you're like, damn it, like I can't figure it out.
So I don't enjoy that, but I do find that I've used the ultra wide so much more. I think it was introduced on the iPhone 11 Pro, and I don't think I must have taken maybe 3 or 4 images with it through the iPhone 11 Pro all the way through to the iPhone 15 Pro. And it was only on the 16 Pro last year when it got that upgrade to 48 megapixels. And the performance out of that camera dramatically improved. That now I do use it. I even used it this week. I was in a large indoors space and I wanted to capture a sense of the scale so that I could show this to other people. And that is the only lens that will enable me to do that. It's also, if you when I've been traveling over the last year, if you go to a really stunning location, you've got these great panoramas, but you don't want to take an actual, panorama where you scan the phone across the horizon. Sometimes you just want to get as much of that in one normal picture as you can. And the ultra wide is great at that, especially when you throw a bunch of light at it. And even in low light situations, as I say, it performs so much better. And it's a slight aside, but ordinary iPhone 17 users this year, I think, are really going to enjoy that camera because it has been a bit of a dead weight, the ultra wide on those phones for the past few years, not super useful, but now it's actually a really good camera.
By the way, we talked about it last week, but if you don't feel like going back and you're listening to this and you're like, talk about the iPhone 17, I will just say it is a near 10 out of 10 phone. And if you are like, I don't know what I need, and I don't know if I want to spend all this extra money, I don't use my cameras, just get the iPhone 17. You will be super happy with it. It is perfectly good for anything that you pretty much need, unless you need a telephoto lens. Otherwise, everything is, to me, feels the same. I can do everything else that I need, honestly. The A19 Pro, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't get super hot. That is one thing I do want to transition back to the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. The vapor chamber, I don't know when it kicks in. That's not something we know. It's not like it tells you. But it has been as advertised. I don't know if it's a combination of just the new design and the way things are laid out. And then I'm just not feeling any of the heat because the heat doesn't happen now. It's still, I don't know. But my phone does not get hot ever. It gets slightly warm. And that's usually after charging, but it's rare. It's been I've been using some of these phones for almost 2 weeks now. And I don't know what was going on with the 15 and 16. It's obviously got to be the titanium and just how hot the internals get, but this is doing such a good job. So that to me is as advertised, which helps your performance. When the times that performance is terrible, it's because your phone is too hot and it can't keep up. And so it just needs to cool off a bit. I've gotten 0 warnings. I know some people are still getting warnings, but like your battery's going to get hot. That does not, that's going to happen. If you're outside, your battery's going to cook. And that's another thing. When you're outside and your phone's getting a little too hot, and you just got out there, the brightness dims down. I don't notice that anymore. That does not happen, which is a huge issue in the 15 and 16, where your brightness is just, you can't take advantage of that huge peak brightness because it can't handle it.
And also the display has a higher outdoor peak brightness this year. So that should look better just from that alone. It's up to 3,000 nits.
It had what was it last year? I thought it was already at 3,000.
2,000.
It had a high one. 2,000. Okay. So it had, and that was pretty insane at the time when Apple announced that. I think that was for the 15 and 16, right? It was both 2,000 for those 2 years. So, but that was great. And I raved about that when those phones came out. I was like, at least for the 16, I know for a fact it was at 2,000. I said in those videos, like, this is great outdoors. What I didn't know in the first week or two, which is why it's important that people review phones later on, is that, after a while, when your battery or the performance of the chip can't maintain a cooler temperature, you can't use that brightness because your display is automatically like, I cannot be this high or your phone's going to overheat and we're going to have to turn it down. So that was a huge issue, especially over the last few months before these new ones came out in the summer here with my phone. It's just like, I can't see anything because it's automatically dimming down because the phone's getting too hot. Happy to report that has not happened so far with the new ones.
And are you finally happy you have orange? I'm waiting with bated breath here.
Yes.
You don't sound very convinced here, Dan.
It's a good shade. I like it. I don't love the glass shade. I don't. I think the aluminum shade is so much better. And I get it. It's not going to be 1-to-1. And so they're going to kind of go in the direction of, well, it's going to look weird if we try to match it. So we might as well just go in something that's more complementary to it. With that said, the silver is just so damn good. I just can't get over how good it looks. How terrible of a human am I? I've been complaining for years, and I've even called you boring. I am sorry. This is my official apology. I've called you boring for picking silver, and then here I am just gushing over how good the silver looks. I didn't know I was going to get a 2-tone silver.
It is good, and also it's the only device this year that looks good with the clear case.
And it's the only device that looks good when you scratch it, which is what we should finally end on, because the durability has been an issue. And I will say, I really like the look of the blue too. I like the look of all three. I think they are all good. I'm glad I have the Pro and silver, but like, I feel bad that if I fully switch over to the Pro, then I'm not rocking the orange and I'm just a fraud. I think I'm just a fraud in general. You guys shouldn't listen to me. So it is what it is. But yeah, I even think the blue looks good. However, we have seen reports since day one that blue is not holding up well with scratches and drops, and the aluminum itself is not holding up very well if you drop it. But like, also, yeah, I mean, right? If you drop your phone on some pavement, isn't that kind of par for the course? What are we expecting here?
It is, but I think that if you really think about it, the last main aluminium iPhone that we had was the iPhone 7. I know that the iPhone 8 was, and the iPhone SE, but I mean, in terms of the most premium flagship iPhone you could buy, that was, I guess, the iPhone 7 Plus. And that whole thing was made of, what did they call it, 6,000 series or 7,000 series aluminium. And those did feel fairly hard-wearing, not the jet black one, but those were pretty good unless you actually chipped them. These devices do feel different, and part of it must just be that we've got so used to having stainless steel and titanium, and so it's odd to go back to a different material. But it does feel like Apple have chosen some colors which don't hide that damage at all. I mean, certainly the deep blue doesn't, and to a lesser extent, the orange doesn't really either.
It does a
And I
better
think
job, but it's not. It's the silver
where
that
you've
does
got
the best.
these large flat edges, and it is a big device.
Mm.
It kind of stands out a lot more than if you just bought like an iPhone 6S years
Yeah.
ago, and it was like space gray, and that is basically silver anyway. And like you just didn't notice it in the same way as these really aggressive designs. And I will say that when I went in the Apple store to check out the devices for the first time, and I've actually been to, I think, 2 or 3 Apple stores now since they've actually been out on the tables, and they are all in pretty terrible condition. Every store I've been to. And that's really been quite surprising. And I know that they get a lot of footfall, especially when these devices are new. A lot of people are picking these things up. But they don't look good. Like that every single one is scratched. And Apple put out a statement yesterday saying that, it's the MagSafe charger that they use in the stores and they're going to be fixing this. But the edges of the device are scratched. Like that's got no contact with the MagSafe charger. It's because people are dropping it. They put it down on surfaces. I think you need to use a case with it, to be honest.
How are they doing that, by the way? Like they're tethered to the MagSafe charger. You can't go very far with it. How are they? What are you doing when you go to an Apple store? Like, be careful. It's other people's property. Like, I don't understand. I get that accidents happen every once in a while.
People do things like they like to test putting it in their pocket. Maybe they put it in their pocket with keys or other items, coins. They also put them down or drop them. I mean, I very nearly dropped them. You know, you go to pick up like 2 iPhones to compare the size, and you get your own one out to compare as well, and suddenly you're juggling a few phones, and it's easy. Or people like throw them back on the chargers and don't get the alignment quite right, and they just fall off or they slide off if you don't get the magnetic alignment right. But that is enough to damage this new chassis, and people seem to be saying, you know, even a 2-foot drop is causing damage because the aluminium is really soft. I think the pros are not the ones for durability. And the other little observation sort of related to that is the glass on the back. This was pointed out to me, and it to me is once it was pointed out to me, I now can't unsee it. Every single iPhone 17 Pro or Pro Max that I have seen has misaligned back glass. And you can see that the gaps around that on the left side and on the top, I don't have one in front of me to check if this is actually the case. Slightly larger.
No, hardly.
On the other side.
Oh, damn it. Why would you tell me this?
And that bugs me. And I think also,
I didn't even know. I didn't even notice this.
You're going to get like stuff stuck in that gap. And I remember when Apple made the video about the iPhone 5, and they talked about the manufacturing tolerances and how they were doing things like on a micron level of, manufacturing sophistication to get everything so precisely aligned. And then I took a look at the back of these devices, and I mean, they're just not properly centered. Basically, none of them are. And I don't really know how that's happened.
This is like Tesla panel gaps level bad right now. It's not bad. Let me just rephrase this. This is not a reason not to buy the phone, but I did not notice that until you just said it. And now I'm looking at one corner and there's no gap at all. And I'm looking at the right corner and there's a gap. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's not like, it kind of looks like it's like when you put your finger over it, you don't really feel a gap, but like, it's almost like it's like a reflection of the gap that exists that is what's more.
You can tell, right? You can see it with the naked eye. And
well, I didn't notice it until you just said something.
The reason for it is a practical one. Apple would probably argue, if you were to ask Apple PR about this, probably what they would say is, well, we need a gap to allow that piece of glass to shift when dropped so that the device is more durable, and it probably prevents it from breaking, because if it was in there really rigidly, it would have no give, which would make it more likely to crack and break. That's probably true, but also it's a little bit surprising from a company that usually has such excellent quality control and such high manufacturing tolerances that it just feels a little bit out of place. And so I was going in the store and picking up one and picking up another and another and another, and they're all the same. So maybe having that clear case with the white plastic square, which is what I've got, is maybe not such a bad idea because you can cover it up.
It's a bummer you can't wirelessly charge through aluminum. Could you imagine if the whole thing was aluminum? Just looks so good.
It would look good. Would it be more durable? I don't know.
I mean, just from a look, even if like titanium, let's just say that didn't get hot, okay, and the whole phone could be titanium instead of just the frames. But that would be more expensive, though, wouldn't it?
Probably. I mean, there's a few reasons why Apple have moved away from titanium. One is obviously this new thermal system in combination with the vapor chamber and even the more efficient chip that significantly improves the thermals, because the thermals on the 15 Pro were awful. They did get better with the 16, but now they seem to be significantly better. Other reasons include colors. We could not have an orange titanium iPhone because you can't PVD coat titanium to achieve that sort of finish. That's why the titanium phones are always pretty dull. And also, aluminium is easier to recycle. It's easier to manufacture. It's cheaper. And also, it, I believe, is less impacted by tariffs and sort of supply chain issues. So it makes a lot of practical sense for Apple to do that with devices that sell in much larger volume than the Air will.
Yeah. One last thing I want to talk about, just briefly, just want to know your thoughts. I don't know if you've seen them. The tech woven case. Thoughts? Have you had a chance to hold one?
I ordered a tech woven case. I ordered the black one, and it arrived, I don't know, about a week ago. And I actually used it on my 16 Pro because it pretty much fits. Okay. I really like the material. It feels a lot better than fine woven. It's clearly a lot more hard wearing, but I returned it because I just thought there's the colors. I don't really like the colors this year of the tech woven cases. Again, I think they're ugly, just like the phones, and they kind of emphasize all the thickness and the sort of, it makes an ugly phone look uglier. And that's why I've gone for the clear case, which I appreciate is not a nice looking case either. I'm not totally delusional about that, but I think that the clear case does look quite good on the silver phone because the square on the back is negligible and it's just clear. So it's a little bit more of a classic Apple look. But they just look ugly. I mean, if there had been like a light gray or a cream or I don't know. I mean, even the black isn't really black. It's more like a charcoal. The brown is a very artificial kind of weak brown. The green seems a little bit too bright. If it had been a darker, deeper green, I would have liked that. And the blue is sort of a little bit like denim. And also, I feel just sort of doesn't give the phone much presence. So no disrespect to anyone that's bought one. I mean, I actually think they're pretty good cases, but they kind of emphasize the size of the phone. It just makes it feel so big. And they don't have the look to be able to carry off that phone. But they feel good in the hand, and they're definitely a step up from fine woven.
Yeah, my take is they're fine. I think they're okay. Definitely a step up, like you said. I am a caseless person, and if I was to go with a case, I have other options that I quite enjoy more than I do this. That's the best way I can phrase it. And I would love a fine woven, tech woven wallet that could fit like 4 cards. Can we just make a little bit of an XL version? 4 cards. That's all I need. And like 4 cards where I can get them out comfortably, not like this is impossible to get out. But all right, that's it for now. Would love to hear from any of you if you have questions about the phone that we didn't answer. If we didn't bring it up, I think it's safe to assume that most of the other features that you might have questions of, we probably do enjoy. The things that we brought up today are the things that we really enjoy, and the things that we don't really like or have been a problem, or maybe not have been a problem and have been overblown, like the titanium build and the durability of the iPhone Air in general. But yeah, ask us questions. Let us know your thoughts if you have one. Would love to hear from you guys, and we'll catch everybody in the next episode.